I'm really excited because today I'm talking to Esther, and we are talking about a topic that so many people get stuck on, which is getting stuck, how to get unstuck. You know, a lot of people get stuck in relationships, in jobs, just in situations and friendships, and so many different things where it's really tough to see a path out. But you're here today with a message, which is,
you can get yourself unstuck. You're not really stuck. You just think you are.
You just think you are. There's always a path out. And I think that a part of getting unstuck is being honest with yourself, right? Getting clear on your goals and what you want to do. Like Esther works with people, by the way. She coaches people through how to live their best lives and kind of be true to themselves. So this is something that she deals with on a regular basis. So she's all about getting people unstuck.
And help them grow a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
So what trips people up, or what is the path out? If someone is feeling stuck in something right now, what's the first thing they should do?
They should ask themselves questions. For example, it kind of depends on what you're stuck with. Some people, they have like this big dream and they're kind of stuck on like action steps because they're overwhelmed and they start procrastinating because they're perfectionists and they're afraid they're going to fail. But there's also another kind of stuck where it has to do with your identity. You're taking some kind of action or sticking in a relationship or a job that doesn't feel right for you anymore. But you started identifying in that relationship or in your job, so it became part of who you are.
Right.
But there is something inside you, like your gut, your mind, your soul, your heart, and it's trying to reach out to you and say like, we don't want this anymore. We want change. We want something else. But here's the tricky part.
Yeah.
We have our animal brains. And our animal brains like to keep us in our comfort zones, even if the comfort zones actually feel uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Because that's our survival mechanism. Yeah.
Absolutely. I can think of so many times where I've done both categories of those, you know, but I think you're right about it's easy to feel so comfortable with discomfort.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like you're in this situation and you don't exactly love it, but what do you do? You know, like sometimes the path that you want. So let's say, I don't know, like for myself, it's like, sure, I've been in jobs where it's like, how do I get out? You know, and if you don't have a clear vision, if you don't really know, you might know that you hate your job, but
you already just did the best thing. You asked yourself, how do I get out?
Right.
And you start to bring your brain in thinking and opportunities and possibilities.
Right.
Instead of, because most of our thoughts are negative throughout the day. Like, I'm just stuck here. Like, you know, I need to stay here. I need the money. I know what I can do with this job. I don't want to move. Like, we tell all this stuff to keep ourselves stuck. And the reason for that is like emotions, like feeling uncomfortable, feeling discomfort, feeling fear. They're our friends and our enemies at the same time because they actually are trying to help us in a certain way.
Right. That feeling of discomfort, right? If you're in a job or a relationship that feels uncomfortable, it's telling you it could be time to do something new. And by the way, I think new could be shifting your perspective within that relationship. Or, of course, new could possibly be getting unstuck and getting out.
Yeah. So the question people maybe should also ask themselves is, what do you define as being stuck? Are you stuck within your own mindset? And do you actually have a lot of opportunities in your life? And most people have opportunities without having to do really difficult stuff. But there are also people that are maybe in a very low income and they have lesser opportunities to go follow an education or a training. And for them, it's going to take more work and more determination to start making long-term changes in their lives.
Right.
The things that you have to realize it's some of these things that you can do, they're simple, but they're not easy. There will be struggle, there will be discomfort, and you are your own best friend and you are your own worst enemy.
Right.
And for myself, I know I have a very strong mindset, which can be very good if I'm in a positive drive kind of flow. But it can be horrendous when I'm not.
Yeah.
Because I have to fight myself to get out of that.
Now, how often do you have to work with people about dealing with discomfort? Because I think that we're kind of trained in a way to that we're not supposed to feel uncomfortable. We're not supposed to feel sad. We're not supposed to feel certain emotions that could be defined as negative. But the truth is sometimes those can just be growing pains. Whenever you do something a little bit different outside your comfort zone, it can be uncomfortable.
So yeah, there's two things that pop out for me. The first one is you're supposed to. Supposed to who?
Yeah.
To what? You're only supposed to listen to your inner, deeper self. And I'm not a religious person myself, but it's also something that's talked about in all big religions, your own deeper self. And it can be spiritual, religious, atheist, it doesn't matter. It's a feeling that you have, a sort kind of inner faith. And the other thing is, you were saying about, I lost your train of thought there.
The negative emotions or the discomfort, the growing pains.
So not supposed to feel them, you are supposed to feel them. They are your wake-up calls, they are your trigger signs, they are your information sources. When you feel sad, it means you're experiencing some type of loss. And maybe it's the idea that you were gonna grow in this company and get the high-end job. Or maybe it's like you were dating this person and you really thought this time this one was gonna be the one. And you discovered that the expectations and the hopes that you had, you have to let those go together maybe with that person. But it's more about the inner. Because we give ourselves expectations and hopes and goals, they're related. And it's good because it makes us move forward. But we also have to know when to not move forward in the direction where you've been going and question your direction.
Absolutely. I think it's so powerful for people who can feel disoriented and, feel like they're not supposed to feel a certain way. But absolutely. And, I have another friend who was talking about how pay attention when you feel jealous. She said, if you're ever seeing someone that has something or is doing something and you feel jealous, it's not necessarily negative in the sense they're doing something that you wish you could do. Pay attention to that feeling. And then maybe if they have like some job or promotion, work a little bit harder so you can get it. Like there's things that you can do. So to pay attention to these feelings.
If you feel jealous or envy, it means they have something that you secretly think you're lacking.
Yeah.
So people who might be very shy, they might get irritated with a person that's very chatty and extrovert because they secretly hope they were that person.
Right.
And then
they're like, who is that person to be out there all in the front talking to everybody like
look
that?
At her.
Look at her. Who does she think she is?
And if you start thinking like that and talking like that, you're going to fill yourself with a lot of negative emotions.
Right. And it's like the root of it, of course, is like what you're saying. The person wishes that they felt more comfortable being in the spotlight. That person wishes they could be a bit more outgoing. Yeah. So they point negatively at that other person.
If you are at some kind of event and you notice that kind of jealousy, whether it's at work or social, or even the way you can be in the subway or some public transport and you see this person standing there and you see this person has like this nice confident energy around them and you go like, you get that little grumpy thingy inside of you. It's because you wish you were more like that person.
Yeah.
And that's a good realization because now you became aware of something and it means you can start asking yourself a couple more questions. Now, what do I think that person has? Maybe I think that person is like really happy and maybe I'm not. Or maybe it's the same for like success and rich people.
Right. Oh, they have so much money.
And they must be so happy.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of people also have like the money mindset thing. Like, I don't know, Jim Carrey had a very nice quote going over the Facebook recently where he said, I wish everybody could be rich and famous so they know how it would not make them happy and they would let go of it again. Yeah.
I've seen that quote and it's always is great. And, I feel lucky in the sense of I grew up around people who had a lot of money, but I didn't. And so I saw both worlds. I saw people who had a lot of money and people who didn't have a lot of money. And the people who had a lot of money weren't any happier.
Those people who dream of like winning the lottery. So a very good question is, suppose money was not playing a part in my life right now, what would I do?
Right.
And there's people that actually did win the lottery. So they won like $1 million. Now there was a whole documentary series about it. People who won like multiple $1 million prizes.
Yeah.
And the big majority within 2 years were back in the state they were before they won the lottery. Most of the people had spent it all and gotten all these new friends that disappeared as fast as the money went.
Right.
And you can have that happiness if you ask people. This is really interesting. People that were diagnosed with a very serious ailment or illness, and you ask them 12 months later how they were feeling versus people that won the lottery, and 12 months later they were about the same level.
Yeah. I've heard about this where people return to their base state, money. I read about losing a limb. You return back to wherever you were at the start of things. But I think it's interesting. But I also want to add that I don't believe in also sort of promoting sort of that poverty is okay, right? Like we all want to have enough and, more than enough and to feel successful and happy and to be able to travel and do things. But if you're chasing money with the hopes that money in and of itself is going to bring you happiness, I think that is silly. And that's what I saw growing up, is that money in and of itself doesn't bring you any happiness. However, money as its ability to free you and to allow you to live your dreams, money can absolutely allow you to travel and explore and live the life that you want to create for yourself. So that's a positive use of money, and I'm all for abundance. But money just as like stacking up zeros to have in a bank account to make you smile.
And also, how do you use your money? I think the richest people in the world are on the graveyard. Do you use money to buy properties and goods and products, or do you use it so that you can have nice experiences in your life and become a better person and share it with other people?
Right.
Because that's different energy with money.
Absolutely.
We have to realize that money is not just like a physical exchange of like paper and coins. It's an energy exchange.
Right.
The value that you perceive in money, and I come from a scarcity mindset, and I'm still dealing with that at times. But I'm compassionate enough for myself to know that when I can afford it, I like to live in a nicer place because I spend a lot of time in my condominium. Versus a person that might be spending lesser money in the condominium but likes to go eat out fancy places a bit more and spend their money there.
Right.
It's different for everybody.
It is different for everybody. And I want both, just to be clear. I don't want anyone wondering.
Okay,
does Roman want the fancy restaurants or does she want the nice condo? I intend to. That's not a choice. Yes to both on those. And when we talk about people being stuck, I do think that poverty and you can get stuck in whatever you're raised in. And, I know a lot of people have broken out and things like that. And I don't come from poverty, to be clear, by the way. Like, it's just working class families, teachers, and all these things. But when you're a teacher in Philadelphia, that's really not a lot of money. That's kind of what I grew up in. But, I do think that people can get stuck in whatever they're raised in. So if you're raised with just very working class, not having enough hand to mouth, situations, it can be tough to get unstuck from even that. And I think it really requires a shift in mindset.
There is also a positive to it. If you are in a situation where you're just getting by, you become creative. You start to think you can start to think of alternate solutions to problems. And it can actually later in life give you a head start versus the person who didn't have to worry about a lot of daily life things. They go from home to college and then they step into the real life and all of a sudden they have to take care of stuff they never had to take care of before, think about stuff they never had to think about before, and it can unbalance them. So it's not like a very black and white thing. Yeah. But we do know that we are privileged in a certain way that we didn't have to worry about where will we sleep, where will we eat.
Absolutely.
Do I have shoes to wear? I mean, having traveled in several countries around the world, and you and I have both been to India, and India is very confrontational with poverty. You cannot, not see it. It is there, and it makes you question stuff like what's important in the world.
Sure.
And I don't think the solution is to give away whatever I have in a savings account to the next person, because it's not
really solving anything.
It's not a solution, and you're actually not really helping people in the long term by giving them handouts. And a lot of the time, actually, those people don't get the handouts. There's some kind of criminal organization behind it that take the majority of the handouts. And you have to question yourself. Like, everybody wants to make a contribution to the planet. Maybe you're not aware of it yet, but everybody wants to do good. If you ask a kid what they want to be, none of them say, I want to be rich. Yeah. They're 3-year-old, they're sitting in the playground, and they want to go off the slide, or they want to go play with their friends, they want to have fun.
Yeah.
Nobody says, I want to be rich. That's something that comes later in life when money starts to play a part. And rich can be mindset. You can be having a lot of money in a very poor mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know people that I feel like, it's definitely a mindset because, you can make $1 million a year, but if you still feel like you should be making 10 million, yeah, then you're going to feel tight and poor. Whereas to the outside world, it could look like, wow, this person's making $1 million.
There's actually a number that they calculated. I think it was around $100,000 a year. If you're around the $100,000 a year mark,
yeah,
everything more than that is not going to make you that much more happier, because that amount of money will give you a certain amount of freedom,
yeah,
for, certain possessions that you want, certain activities that you want to do. Freedom to say no. That's another thing. Having the freedom to say no to something.
And I also want to point out, for those of you who haven't seen my last talk with Esther, which I will post a link to this in the bottom, but Esther has made her own way. I think especially when I meet people who are traveling, it's easy to think that, oh, maybe they came from money, or they all had these really fancy banking jobs and they saved $100,000 from it, and now are just living the life.
Let me get you on the secret. I used to be a security guard for 15 years.
A security guard. First of all, I think that's funny on so many levels.
Because you never knew, right?
Because I'd be like, what are you keeping safe? I'm not very intimidated. You're so sweet. I feel like I would walk up and snatch
we're not like the American security guards with like handcuffs and guns. In the Netherlands, we have to use our mouth and our brains in our work.
You don't need that in the U.S. You just need like a stun gun and some courage. I don't know.
But working a job like that has given me a lot, because it gave me access to people from all levels, like from famous politicians and movie stars and artists, because I also used to work at events, to your average person on the floor and the person in the middle. And the freedom that you get as a security guard is you get unlimited access. And it makes you so much aware of all these things, all these ideas that you get from like TV. If your baseline to the outside world is what you see on TV, you got a problem, because that's not what it is. And the news is not reality. Why is there so much negative stuff in the news? We start paying attention when shit hits the fan. That's also why you start changing your life when shit hits the fan. Oh, your relationship broke up, you lost your job, your parents got divorced, or your best friend died. Like, those are things that make you stop and start thinking and feeling and noticing. And politics is a part in that too. When the elections were up and Trump was about to be elected, there were a lot of people here in Chiang Mai that started coming up to me and go like, I don't know what to do with myself right now. The idea of him becoming the president is, doing something to me. The good thing about it is he woke up a lot of Americans that are starting to think like, what's important in my life? What do I want to do?
Yeah.
I really hope he will not be re-elected. Let's just put that clear. But we have to look at the bigger picture, not only in that moment, in that emotion, in that feeling. If you already have a dream or a vision, start working on it. And not just, don't make lists with action steps or goals. I want to have achieved this by that date and put numbers on it. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, if you have a certain dream or vision, try to fish out for yourself why you want that dream or vision and who you think you will become when you achieve that goal.
I think that's really powerful, because we're here in Chiang Mai, Thailand right now, which is digital nomad hotspot. Everyone's trying to build a business and working for themselves. And I think even within this community where a lot of people are working very hard, I think there are also a lot of people who lack focus. And maybe they aren't clear on all of the whys and things like that. And if you don't have it, I think it can be easy to get derailed.
Yeah, that's what I notice in my work. I save people months or maybe years, you don't know, because you don't know what the alternative future is, of agony and struggle and self-questioning. We all have blind spots. As a coach, I get coaching because we have blind spots in our own behaviors and thought patterns. And, the knowledge circle, you don't know what you don't know. Just because you don't know yet. You don't know a lot of stuff when you're 4. You don't know a lot of stuff when you're like 24, but even at like 44, you still don't know a lot of stuff.
Right.
And the more you learn, the more you realize, the less you know. Because you then realize how much more there is out there.
Right.
I think also trying to find a solution in knowledge. So in the time that with myself that I was very unhappy, I mean, I went all the way through the burnout. I couldn't avoid it. I had to go through it. It was a hell of a time to go through it. But now in hindsight, it made me happier because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today and I wouldn't be who I am today. And having that kind of awareness in your life, that you realize what's going on with yourself is so important. And having somebody guide you in it, and it can be a good friend, a mentor, a teacher, a life coach or mindset coach, things that I do, will help you become aware of what you don't know yet.
I think that's really important and powerful because we do all have blind spots, like you're saying. And unless someone can kind of shine a light, I mean, some people who are very introspective and can maybe get there, but it does take time. But I think it's wonderful to have someone to help steer through that process, maybe questions, thought patterns, and help maybe disrupt you from the stuckness of it all.
I mean, it's very easy to go buy a self-help book, read it, not do the exercise. A few months later, there's the new self-help guru book on the market, and you go there again. I think of all books bought and all online courses bought, a minority is actually being read. And I think even less than 5% of the people actually do the exercises in one of those. That's only 5%, you know. That's one side of the story. The other side of the story is that people will spend vast amounts of money going to very famous coaches or trainers because they think that is what they need to move forward. You don't need to be spending $10,000 to get that result. I mean, obviously, personalized service like coaching is expensive. But for example, if you're a procrastinator and by going through coaching, you cut your procrastination by 50%, I think that's a really good result. Mm-hmm. If you calculate the amount of working hours that is at the end of the year versus your whatever your hourly rate is, you can see coaching as a financial investment.
Sure.
And you learn how to coach yourself. So it's an ongoing process at the same time.
I think that's definitely important. Like finding something that works, because you're right. Paying for an expensive seminar or whatever people might do, it's only helpful if you do the work and put in the time. I watch lots of YouTube videos. Oh my God, so many inspirational YouTube videos of what to do and how to structure things. And some I put into place, some I put in the back of my mind to put into place at some point in the future. But you're right, like it's about doing it. Yeah. So I'm saying that out loud, and I'm saying that for me.
But that's another thing people don't realize. When we're actually talking to other people, we're talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
Or in my case, a lot of the times in my younger version. Until about 2 years ago, I probably was like a master procrastinator. Like, I was in the top something of procrastinating. I was an expert procrastinator.
Championship.
Oh yeah, man. If there would have been a competition, I would have scored high points.
That seems good for a security guard.
We're going to go into the stereotypes about security guards? I don't drink coffee and I don't eat donuts. And I didn't grow fat in a desk chair either.
I'm going to say this. There's a security guard who sits outside my building. 80% of the time when I come home, fast asleep. This man could not pick me out of a lineup, and I'm in Thailand. He could not pick me out. He's never seen my face. Okay, so I'm just saying, some security guards, not Esther.
There's a cultural difference in the Netherlands. If you do that, you can go find yourself another job.
Not here in Chiang Mai. He's a killer job.
Yeah, and you probably have to realize that guy's probably working a double job to feed his family.
Sure. At my other building, the security guard, he'd be there bright, even late at night, he was awake. But this new building where I am, napping. But okay, no, we're not going to get too new right now. But, just thinking about, people getting unstuck and all those things, I think that it is possible, right? We can break out of our systems. I watch the YouTube videos. I take the lessons. I implement some, not others.
And that's different from just watching the videos.
Sure.
I mean, it's so nice on Facebook, right? You wake up. There's all these funny animals, clumsy people, inspirational quotes. We are all going to save the world. It gives us this nice little hormone boost.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you, during the day, are doing whatever you're supposed to be doing or not doing whatever you think you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And something changes in you. Because motivational stuff are just little boosts, little pushes. But what's going to keep you going in the long run, like a marathon, you have to see it as a marathon, is the energy that pulls you towards your bigger goal and your bigger vision. Because that energy, it might be not as intense as the actual motivation energy, but that's the one that's going to keep you rolling through the rough stuff. Like you said to me before, it's kind of rough doing everything on your own, working by yourself and being your own responsibility and your own accountability. And it is. But would you go back to... No, why not?
Right. I mean, it's like what you're saying. Once you have the why, the feeling of freedom that I get from being my own boss, the feeling of freedom that I get from traveling, I could never trade that for the stability of a 9-to-5 now that I've left that, so that why, the wanting to help people, wanting to have people learn things and also have fun definitely motivates me and pulls me through. And I think that's an important point. Like what you're saying is having the why and knowing why you want to do what you're doing and feeling it deeply, because you're really right. Motivation comes and goes. And if you're relying just on that,
yeah, like I had a couple of people that I was coaching that had a writer's block. Now, if you're a writer with writer's block, that's, kind of a problem. And it had to do with the fact that they kind of lost motivation. Now, losing motivation, come on, we're people. We're not robots, right? You don't have to be in the mood or feel that positive emotions to get started.
Yeah.
Like one of the things a lot of my clients end up doing is have like a little notebook that they use either in the evening, in the morning, to just write some stuff down. And it's different for every other person what kind of question they're answering, because they're working on different topics in themselves. But just take that 5 minutes before you go to sleep or go to bed to write stuff down before you start with your online phone, computer screen, having all this input from outside. I think that's another one. Overwhelm is a big factor in all this. And one of the ways we tend to escape our busy heads is to fill it with other busy stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, look, this article, this book, this activity. Oh, let's go salsa dancing. Let's take a yoga class. That's all good and nice. Nothing wrong with watching TV, people. I like to watch an hour or so every now and then in the evening. I sometimes do a binge day. Like I plan a binge day of watching. I'm going to watch this whole series. But it's different if it's like procrastinating watching because you're trying to avoid something in yourself or distract something. And I think, and it's real simple and it's real difficult at the same time, if you're starting to feel like it's just an ongoing, you wake up and immediately you're in like fifth gear, mauling away right there, then just sit still for a few minutes and just breathe.
Yeah.
And it's simple and it's difficult. But those are the moments where you start to retrain your body and retrain your brain that there is something else out there. And it's scary at first, and you have to step out of that comfort zone. And it sounds weird, like sitting still for 5 minutes and just watch out the window or close your eyes, just focus on in and out breathing. Those are little steps that you take. Like, don't expect if you have a big dream or vision and you're going to reach it within 1, 3, or 5 years. Don't expect stuff like that, because you're putting pressure on yourself. And pressure and stress are killers for a creative abundance mindset.
Yeah.
Take those moments of calm and quiet. Put them in your reminders on your phone, like 5 minutes before lunch or 5 minutes after lunch or breakfast. Like you can couple them with your coffee or tea moments, or just make a system that works for you. There's no pressure there. All you have to do is just sit still for a few moments. Instead of waiting at the elevator, take the staircase. And take that moment to take a couple of deep breaths. We were taking moments for ourselves in the office or something like that, right?
Yeah, no, boss. This is so helpful. So, I mean, do you have any, final thoughts for people who are feeling unstuck? Maybe they do know, they have sort of a sense of their why. Mm-hmm. We'll have them write down and really get clear and focused on it, because it's really essential to know. Yeah. But anything else you want people to leave them with?
Yeah, I think take time for yourself to ask and answer your own questions. your questions, not some question you read in a book or somebody said you have to answer these questions. No, just sit down sometimes and just write whatever. You don't have to answer them yet. Just first write all these questions that you're wondering about yourself. All these thoughts that you have when you're waiting for the bus or whatever. Just type them down, email them to yourself.
So if someone says, I don't know, I don't have any questions, right? They say, what are my questions?
Then your question is, why do you not have any questions? Are you already your best happy self? Then okay, cool.
Or maybe the question is, if they don't realize, maybe the question is like, why do other people have this and I don't?
Yeah.
You know,
so change that question to, what would I like to have? If I have that, what would it enable me to do that am not able to do now? Like, why is that important to me?
Right.
And if I have it and I know what value it has for me, who do I become when I have that skill, that possession, that experience, whatever it is, that emotion, whatever it is they think they're lacking. And maybe I can give like a little exercise that people can do for themselves. So, for example, you're stuck in getting started with something like procrastination. Just sit back in a chair or lie on the bed, but there's a danger in that one because lying on the bed is real comfortable. So maybe a chair is better.
Yeah.
Close your eyes. Take a couple of deep, slow breaths. And think about a time where you did not have trouble getting started. You were very enthusiastic about getting started on this new whatever it was. And you started to feel that energy and that drive. So I want you to think back of that time and place yourself back in the time where you were experiencing those emotions, and then focus on those emotions. And really relive the emotions that you had in that moment. And then I'd like you to think as if you're stepping out of yourself and looking at yourself as if you're looking at a TV screen or a cinema screen. And notice what is happening at that moment, like with your facial expression, your energy, your body posture. Like if you were to see an actor on TV, and that actor would be very like happy, enthusiastic, you're observing all this stuff. So observe yourself when you're experiencing that emotion that you think you're lacking right now. And you will start to notice that it comes back. And after having observed yourself, step back into that position where you were experiencing that emotion again. And really feel that emotion. And when you finish off a self-visualization like that, use that momentum that you have to get started. So it's best to do this type of exercise when you're ready to get to work or to get started or want to experience, for example, self-confidence. You know, there have been times in your life where you were feeling confident about things that you were doing. So then focus on how that felt like. Reignite that. It's there. Maybe it went to sleep. Maybe it hid away a little bit, but it's there and you can ignite it.
I love it. I really love that exercise. And, you know, it's funny because we can absolutely re-tap into things we've experienced before. And I think that seems like a really great one to do. I was doing it a bit while we were sitting here.
So what were you experiencing?
I really enjoyed it. Well, you know, I was actually thinking about confidence when you said it. Because I was thinking about recently I had to do an interview. And I was thinking about how I kind of unintentionally did a version of that, a short version, without planning it out. It was like before I was going to do an interview, I thought to myself, I've already got it. Like, I've nailed this. It's gone so well. Like, I don't know. I just put myself in the mindset of feeling the feelings of the accomplishment.
Yeah.
You know, and then I went into the talk and it went really well and it was very successful. But it was just to me about like, okay, tapping in. I didn't consciously go back to a specific past experience, but it was like, tapping into feelings that we know.
So we just literally learned that you can do this in a very short amount of time. It doesn't need any type of preparation. And it's just a little trick that you can use. It's not a solution to a bigger problem. It's just a trick that you can use to take a next step and a next step and just improve that 1% every time. Don't shoot for 0 to 100. Just take those baby steps, put in the effort, put in the time, plan it like it's a marathon, not a sprint. Don't crush it 16 hours a day. People, please, you might not be living by the end of the year. You know, I just read yesterday that 22,000 people die in Thailand a year in traffic here.
Oh my gosh.
It's like so ridiculous. So yeah, don't plan everything for later in life, you know. Good, take that yoga class, walk in nature, spend time with your loved ones. Because,
and enjoy the things you have, you know. It's like
celebrate your wins. Celebrate your wins. So you did meditation 3 days yesterday. Give yourself a high five, dance in the room naked, whatever you need to do to celebrate, do it.
I love it. All right. Thank you so much. This is so helpful. I always enjoy sitting down and chatting with you.
Oh, you're welcome. Same here. and I hope we'll help people with this video.
Absolutely. I'm going to put a link to Esther's info in the bottom of this. You can reach out to her. She can help you through this process. She gave you that tip, but there's more. So you can get details and make sure you get unstuck.